What's up guys, welcome to another video, and today we're going to be talking about the latest update and also the Hall of Heroes. So first off with the update, so we got new transmogs for Oracle, Magic Knight, Assassin, Golem and Bounty Hunter, nice. And we got the rune drop improvements, so this will mean that overall we should get a bit more mana, and it'll be slightly easier to get some better runes since we don't have to waste drops on 4-star runes in B10, and also makes it all that much more important to get to B10 as soon as possible for newer players, right? I mean, you can still farm B9 and stuff. You can still get your 5-star rune and 6-star runes. So you actually, from here you can see that it drops from B7 onwards, right? So from B7, it's worth farming, if you can do it, right? Just for that chance to drop 6-star runes. But obviously, it's much more preferable to get it, to like focus your efforts in getting your team ready for B10. So whether it's 6-starring your monsters to increase their stats, or like farming the mana to power up your runes to plus 15. Okay. Let's see. So some crafting materials have been added to the shop. We'll have a look at that in a second. The monster pieces that can be replaced with almighty summoning pieces has been increased from 10 to 25. Alright, that makes a bit more sense. At least that means like if you can only complete one floor, like let's say for example you complete an odd floor of the Hall of Heroes, then you can make up the rest of it with almighty pieces, which you can get from the guild shop. Alright, so it makes sense that they do it like that. Alright, UI improvements, okay, nothing very particularly interesting there. Oh, well, okay, this is a bit random, but you cannot use special characters, or some special characters, when registering your name for guild, for your summoner, guild and homunculus, okay? So it'll be like less of those like those random symbol names, I guess. I guess if you already have it, they can't do anything about it. It's just that any new changes, you can't use those. Alright, and then there's like some bug fixes. Doesn't seem to be anything too interesting. Hang on. Alright, yeah, there's nothing that's too game breaking or anything, and a couple of skill description changes. Okay, now the more important thing to talk about is the Hall of Heroes. So in the developer note, they mentioned that they're changing the format for Hall of Heroes, and I discussed that in like the TOA during the TOA clear. So here they're making it 10 floors, so it's a maximum of 250 pieces that you can farm. I guess potentially you could also get okay, this is not really realistic, but you can potentially get 500 pieces by utilizing those almighty pieces. Alright, so if you have 250 pieces, I believe you should be able to use the 25 pieces per summon, and then therefore you could get 10. But that means you have to give up guild points in buying almighty pieces, and I don't think it's worth doing that. I think you're better off using your guild points on primarily Ifrits, right? If you don't have all the Ifrits, and then the Rainbow Mon is decent if you still like 6-starring stuff. It's not that much that important, if you're like really late game, you don't 6-star things that often. And then guild flags are the most important, right? Because they're gonna be same idea as glory point buildings. You're always gonna need, you're always gonna have that extra stats there, and it just makes guild wars easier, makes you stronger in guild wars overall, both on offense and defense. Personally, I like permanent bonuses like that. And then if you ever happen to finish all the flags, then I would consider things like legendary pieces and maybe almighty pieces. So I think most people it's going to be 250 pieces, 5 copies of the monster. So there's advantages and disadvantages disadvantages of this. So the advantage is you don't have to spend the entire weekend tediously farming for HoH pieces, right? I think with 10 floors, I think at most you may maybe spend 1 to 2 hours, depending on how hard it is for you. So if if you need to, like, I think it from B10, like B10 is supposed to be about the old B3 level, right? Supposed to be. I've been told. So if you have to manual it, like, you may as well, right? And making sure you get those pieces, and because you only have to do it once, right? So it doesn't matter if you have to manual it, as long as you can complete it and get all the pieces. So I think most people, like, it's a very large amount of people, like, large amount of population will be able to get all 250 pieces. It's maybe just the newer players that probably only can farm like a few of the floors, but I think even a new player should be able to finish at least the first 2 floors, and that means you can get at least 1 copy of the monster. That's the most important. You always want to farm at least 1 copy. Like, it's been the case since ever since HoH has been out, right? Always farm at least 1 copy and keep it in case you want to build it, right? And so this pirate captain Bark, let's have a look at his skills, right? Okay, let's load up here. Alright, Bark. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I don't quote me on that. Alright, so the first skill is defense break for 1 turn. At max level, I believe it will be 100% harmful effect rate across the board for all pirate captains. Alright, it's only 1 turn, but it's still a defense break, and it's always good to have a skill 1 defense break, right? Even 1 turn. Second attack, pirate strike, same as Galleon's one. You probably be pretty used to it. Absorbs attack bar by 30%, and it does quite a bit of damage, right? It's got a good multiplier. Hits pretty hard. Absorbs attack bar, which is quite nice. Lets you move. Lets you get your next turn a lot quicker, and even and you reduce their attack bar too. So yeah, that's not bad. And thirdly, perform both backspin and pirate strike straight after. So combines both the first 2 attacks. So that's a lot of attack bar reduction from those 2 abilities. Do I think it's good? I'm not so sure. He's really annoying when he's a HoH monster, but I haven't actually seen him used in a practical sense, right? I think he has some potential, like single target ATB reduction. There's like 2 ways to do it, especially because the second ability, it's a 2-turn cooldown, right? After it's max skilled, so he can reduce attack by quite quickly. He could be an alternative if you don't have a HoH. I think HoH is still gonna be better overall, of course, because she'll reduce attack by every attack, but he has a potential to do a similar role to her. Alright, and the leader skill is a crit rate leader in PvP. Also, if you need a single target DPS, you could consider him. I think his multipliers are pretty decent, so yeah, you could consider him if you need him. But I think what most people are going to use him for is skill ups for Galleon, right? So if you don't have a Galleon yet, don't worry, just save your pieces until you get him. It's very important that you get the skill ups for Galleon, because time to loot, you need to have max skill for this, or at least almost max skill for the harmful effect rate, because it starts off at 75% and you need to skill it up to get the rest of the harmful effect rate to get it to 100%. It's very, very important, otherwise it just increases that chance of not landing defense break. So yeah, I think it's pretty realistic for everyone to be able to get a Galleon eventually, right? From summoning stones and just normal summons combined. I mean, there's going to be a few people who struggle to get him, but nat 4s are very realistic to obtain. Okay, so yeah, definitely save up for that. And then if you already have max skill Galleon and you want to play around with a wind DPS unit, you could consider Bark. I can't say I highly recommend it or anything, but I think he's worth testing. For people who don't mind spending the pirate captains on him. And then of course for the super lucky players who have frigate, you want skill ups for him, of course. So I mean, there's another option of like hopefully just praying for that far-fetched chance of pulling light dart knife 4. That's a good one, like frigate. But yeah, skill ups for him. Highly sought after for the third skill, of course, and to get the reliable defense break on skill 1. So you could potentially also save up for frigate as well if you don't care about the other pirate captains. I think at least a lot of top players will make 2 galleons. You don't have to make 2 galleons, but it is fairly common to make 2. One for PvE, one for PvP. So that will take a lot of skill ups. So it's up to you how you want to spend those 5 skill ups that you get. So obviously that's a disadvantage for this new change as well, because now we can only farm 5 over the weekend, even though it doesn't take as long for us to complete it. This means, I mean, the pro of that is we can spend more time on farming runes and raids and whatnot, instead of having to waste a whole weekend on this. But yeah, I think I do like to have that ability to farm as many skill ups as I want. But hopefully they make up for this by introducing HoH a bit more often than once a month. I mean, because it's a way to sort of make up for limiting us to 5 copies. 5 copies is not a lot at all. We can't even skill up the guy that we're getting, right? We can't even fully skill him, or even get close to fully skilling him, right? So yeah, hopefully that means maybe in the future they'll give us HoH a bit more often. Now for the transmogs, these are all fairly have their uses, right? The ones that it's up to you which ones you like. If you like them more, or if you like at least three of them, then you should just buy the whole pack. Because for an extra $10, you can just get 2 more units for as the transmog, right? Because it's $30 each or $100 for all 5. So if you're gonna buy 3 individually, that's already 90 USD. You may as well just pay an extra $10, right? But if you're only gonna buy 1 or 2 of them, yeah, it's gonna be up to you which ones you want to buy. But my recommendation would be probably the assassin would be the most useful, right? And I think out of all of them, she's probably one of the best looking, if not the best looking, right? So like pretty much all of the colors are fairly useful. Maybe like the light one a little bit less. The fire one is a bit underrated. I'm currently using her for the wind beast. She's really good for that. I know a guildie that's using her in Dragon's B10. I think Stella is better than her in Dragon's B10, but she can be used for that if you want. So yeah, she's pretty good. She was a previous HoH as well. Stella, of course, is probably arguably the best one, most useful as well. I use Stella in a lot of PvE areas. She's also useful in PvP if you need a single target nuker. But for me, I use her in dragons, giants, and like all of the raid base except for the wind one. And she can also be used in R5, so she's good. And Tanya, she's very niche. Like she's good if your guild doesn't versus other guilds that don't use very many will runes. So if you're in like a C3 guild or like below that, or even like a G1 guild, you probably won't face that many will rune units. So you can use Tanya to snipe 2 units against those types of guilds. Or if you happen to farm the Gemini HoH, he or she, I think it's a she, pairs really well with Tanya because she will strip the will runes and also defense break at the same time with Fly, and then you can use Tanya, who self buffs, and snipe 2 units turn 1. So she's pretty useful. She has her uses. The light one, I think she's probably the worst one. I don't really know that much about her, but she's I mean, she looks good at least. But yeah, I can't really speak too much for the light one. I haven't really seen her in action that much, but I think she's okay. And then the dark one is similar to Tanya, but a little bit better because she hits any unit, right? She doesn't have elemental disadvantage, which is really good on offense. Only disadvantage is that she's a dark unit, so it's a little bit hard to protect her. But if you can snipe 2 units turn 1, then you should be fine. So overall, I think you get a pretty good, value for money out of the assassin transmog. The oracle is probably the next best one in terms of usefulness, right? Because all of the oracles, like every single one of them, are good, right? In some area. The only thing is, I've heard mixed reviews about whether people think she looks good. Some like half say they don't like her, she looks too slutty, etc. The other half, they like her because she looks slutty. So it's up to you, right? But if you are looking for a transmog that is good across all elements, you just want to get like good value for money. She's also basically pretty much the same as assassin. All elements are quite useful. All right, Magic Knight. I think the Magic Knight is probably one of my favorites. I like her and the assassin the most out of all of these. I think she looks really good, but the disadvantage is most of them are really currently not useful. Like they've been buffed multiple times, over the past few patches, but pretty much all of them except for the light dark ones aren't very useful, right? The fire one, actually the fire one is okay because she does good burst damage. I used to use her a little bit, but she's still a little bit hard to use, so not that exciting. The water one, we get it for free at the start. She can be used as a farm-on farmer, but I don't recommend it for new players because it's a bit hard to build at the start. It's very hard to awaken and hard to skill up as well. So in the end, like by the time you can accumulate Magic Knights to skill her up and get the high essence to awaken her, she's probably not that useful at you by that point. So you use her for the start, like just to start out. She's still a powerful unit as a 4-star unit to start out. Apart from that, not much late game, not much late game use at the moment, right? Hopefully they have a buff for her in the future. I think the Magic Knights in general need a bit of a remake, and the Wind one's probably like the least seen out of all of them. I haven't seen her used at all. Her skill set looks pretty underwhelming as well. So yeah, not that exciting. The light one, she's been buffed recently in the previous patch, and I've been testing her out, and she's actually been pretty good, right? She's a buff stripper. She has a heal that's on a passive as well. She has a silence, which is quite useful utility, and she has good utility with despair because her first skill is a AoE. All right, so she's probably one of the only useful ones. She's good in PvP, but that's about it. Like probably more of a Guild Wars unit, maybe RTA as well. Alright, Dark one. The Dark one is good for Necro, and I think some people use her in like certain PvE areas because she has like a heal on her nuke, and for Necro she has multi-hits, so she's still used by some people. I feel there are better units, but she's definitely not bad, to have. So if you need a multi-hitter, and yeah, you could always use her. So as far as value is concerned, I don't think it's great value unless you have the light dark ones at the moment. But if you just like the look of the transmogs, it's up to you if you want to buy it. Alright, Bounty Hunters. So the Bounty Hunters I think look pretty sick as well, actually. That crossbow looks awesome, right? Now, as for the usefulness, they're actually, I think, pretty underrated. So Randy is a pretty decent nuker. He has a defense buff plus crit buff, which is nice to pair with things like Copper and other defense nukers. And yeah, so overall, he's not a bad unit to have. He's pretty old school. I think people have stopped using him because of immensity, but you can still use him if you are a newer player and missed out on the HoH. You can use him to pair with Copper and Chloe, and you can do almost the same thing, just that it's a little bit harder to hit certain comps because you have to forego first turn, and therefore you can't really hit teams with boss strippers. So that's why immensity made Copper so powerful as of recent, like ever since he got released. But yeah, like Randy is a decent alternative that's relatively easy to obtain. All right, the water bounty hunter. He's actually pretty good in the water beast. I will actually release a video on him in the next a couple of days or so once I record it. But yeah, he has his third skill is the same as Bernard's, right? So he's an ATB booster. He has pretty decent base speed, 110. I think he's mostly going to be used in the water raid, but you can use him in other areas like maybe GB10, even in PvP as an alternative attack bar booster. So the way that he differs to Bernard is that his first and second skills don't do debuffs, or then again, Bernard's first skill doesn't do debuffs, but the second skill does. But Wayne's the Water Bounty Hunter, i.e. Wayne, his abilities are pure damage, so he's good as like a ATB booster that can do damage. So if you need something that fulfills that role, you can use Wayne. Some people do use him for that purpose. Okay, so the Win one, I haven't really seen it used. I think Agility used it in R5. I don't know how useful it was for him, but I did see him used, so I can't really comment too much on it because I didn't really look at it too closely. But yeah, like I guess he has some potential at least. The light one I haven't seen either, but he hurts a lot in TOA, so maybe his skills have some potential. Might be worth looking at, but as of now, I haven't really seen him used by anyone yet. The dark one though, I have seen him used. He is good because his first ability is an attack power buff plus cleanse. So he's nice if you are running something like a bomb comp and you need someone to cleanse to, like, just in case there's you run against a buff strip team. You can sort of use him as like a pseudo Tiana without the attack bar boost, of course, but the advantage is that you get the attack bar buff, attack power buff, and you can cleanse if anyone gets stunned by like despair, despair procs after after they do a buff strip, right? So you sort of build him in a similar way to Tiana. You give him max resist, so that, like, okay, of course it's not foolproof, but you have a very high chance of resisting the buff strip, and therefore you can cleanse and allow the rest of your team to move. So you can use that with bombers, because bombers only care about attack power boost, right? So you can utilize them that way. You don't need a galleon for that as well. All right, so that's an alternative. Because he's a cleanser, he can also be used in R5. I have seen people use him in R5. He's not bad. He also does damage, but on his own. So you can build him as a damage dealer that cleanses. That's also another alternative. You can also potentially use him in like some of the raid beasts, like the dark raid beast, because he provides multi-hits, and attack power buff is quite nice to have as well. So I think overall the bounty hunters are pretty decent value. They're like at least like 2 or 3 of them have good use, right? And I've confirmed that they can be used well. Now for the golems, I think these golems look retarded. Alright, I don't know about you, but I don't think they look good at all. So even if I buy the whole pack, I'm not going to use this pack, like this transmog, right? Pretty much the only good one is the light golem. Alright, the light golem is really strong. He has really good skills. He can tank Sierras and stuff like that because of his skill kit and his passive. He can tank dark units. He's good to tank things like the ragdoll stage in TOA hard. And he's pretty decent in PvP. One of my guildies is like well known for having like one of the best Grogos ever. Of course, he has really insane runes on him, but he performs really well with it. Like so many people, it's unbelievable how many people lose to his defense. So I think overall, this pack is pretty decent value. Like I think most of the elements for each monster type, at least like more than half of the monster type, the monsters available from this Transmog pack are good, right? Of course, you know the oracles are nat 5s, so it depends whether you have like, lucky enough to have them. But yeah, I guess I'll leave it up to you which ones you want to buy. Personally, I'm probably gonna buy the whole pack, just because like I like most of them. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about for this update patch. I guess that was actually quite a lot longer than I thought it would be. So upcoming, I'm gonna record the HoH when it comes out on the weekend, and I'll post it. I'll try to post it as soon as possible so that people can see how I did it, and I can like talk about the flaws and stuff like that. Alright, so until then, have a good weekend, which will be coming up soon for most of you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.